Alright guys, welcome to this section of the video, price action. Alright, so today we'll be looking at marking out key support and resistance zone. Right, so overview is top-down analysis. So please, I want you to pay attention to this video. Pay attention because we are delving into something very intricate, something very delicate that ultimately will be for your trading success. So if you want to write down with this, you can just sit aside, grab yourself some coffee, and just relax and watch this video to the end. And you can help me destroy the subscribe button and then also like this video. Thank you very much. All right, so let's delve in. So first of all, we are marking out key levels, or we can call them point of interest, right? Point that has um significant urge to either surge the furtherance of price or either hold the falling of price. So marking out this key support and resistance zone, we will do this only with historical price reaction. So historical price reaction, what is historical price reaction? So now we are looking at this chart, we can only see this angle, right? So now if we move this a little bit to the side and then we look at our left hand side, you see that we have some price data, right? All right, so all of this, they are what? They are historical price reaction. So as we go further, we'll also see historical price reaction, right? Okay, so this is what we call this is what I mean by historical price reaction. So first of all, to be able to do your top-down analysis, so top-down analysis in overall view is you analyzing a particular asset or a particular market from a higher time frame. So get the point. We going on a higher time frame like 1 month, 3 month, analyzing the market, and then maybe if you're a day trader, then looking for opportunities within, or just following the whole trend. Maybe you just swing the trade, or you take some position trading, right? So top down analysis gives you a a higher or a larger range of pips to catch. So this is it. In the market, you want to be focused on the pips, not about the money. The way you focus on the pips, the end product of the pips, making good trade is the money eventually. But if you focus on the money, you end up missing out on some vital information you're supposed to pay attention to. All right, so top down analysis, we will start our top down analysis from the higher time frame, from the high perspective, and then we know what direction is the market facing. What is the momentum like in the market from the higher time frame, and then we can now narrow it down to the weekly and then to the daily, and then determine the kind of structure that is being formed in each of these time frame, and then position in catching the trade setup, whichever way. If you're a day trader, a swing trader, it will help you, especially if you're a day trader, it will help you catch good pips, right? Here is to help you catch good pips with good risks to reward. All right, so if you get that, that is great. Okay, so now this is what we are referencing. This is what we are paying attention to be able to plot good support and resistance level. You need to look at areas of interest, like number one, swing highs and swing lows. So this is it. Swing high is a three candlestick pattern like this. The three candlestick pattern, candle 1, candle 2, and candle 3, where candle 1 body or wick is higher than candle 2 and candle okay, where candle 2 body is higher than candle 1 and candle 3. So we can call this candle 1, call this candle 2, and then we call this candle 3. So what is the difference? You see, candle 2 wick or body is higher than candle 1 and candle 2. So this is a swing high. So the flip side of this is a swing low. So now swing low is where we have this now. Okay, I'll just go ahead and delete this. So we have this 3 candlestick pattern, right? And then candle 2 body or wick is lower than candle 1 and candle 3, right? So this is swing high and swing low. This is swing low now. The first one was a swing high and this is a swing low. So again, pass resistance and support breakout level. So now let's assume we are not familiar with support and resistance level first, and now we are talking about breakout level. So let's leave this one for further. Let's leave this one for further, for further explanation. Further, when we go into the analysis section, they will examine this. We examine past resistance and support breakout levels. So again, areas, this is our point of interest now. Areas where price has previously reversed multiple times. So this is our concern. We are concerned at at levels that has held price in the future. Maybe market was buying with good momentum and then it reached at a particular level and then it just stopped. All of a sudden it just stopped, and maybe price went again another time and it, it reached that truth and then it just stopped as well. So we can call that level a resistance level because it is preventing price to in going higher, right? And then the support level is a base level, right? That means when we are talking about support is when we are trying to catch a selling market. In the selling market will always sell to a good support zone, and then the support might hold the price back to another resistance, right? Depending on the direction or the flow of the market. If it's a ranging market, okay, if it's a uptrend or downtrend, as the case may be, right? So you want to mark out this level of interest because in the market we are trying to buy at a good support, and then we are trying to sell at a good resistance level, right? Because a resistance level is a level that okay, let's say for example we're in a room, depending on the structure of that your room, you might have a kind of ceiling, a pop. So what does that do now? That is a kind of resistance over you. You cannot go above that point. And as well, where you are, you might be standing, you might be sitting, so there's a base that is supporting you, right? Yeah, so that base that is supporting you is what we call support. So putting that analogy perspective now and applying it into the market this time, we have that any point that supports the market down is a support level, and any point that resist a market from going higher or resist price from going higher is a resistance level. And so now what are we doing? In today's video, we are learning how to mark out key support and resistance zone, and I call this the top down analysis. Pay attention to this, pay attention, yes, pay attention, make sure you are relaxed and you want to watch this video to the very end. All right, so now how do we mark out this level? First we say areas of interest like swing highs and swing lows, and as well, so let's skip this for the moment. And then areas where price has previously reversed multiple times. So now what do? We look at historical price reaction. All right, so looking at this current market, okay, let's do something very nice. Okay, looking at this, so what can we liken this to? We can liken this to past market reaction, right? Yeah, so let's say, okay, let's start from somewhere very close. Okay, let's cut from here. So now what do? We use the bar replay tool. So let's do some price action trading. Let's learn how we can mark zones, key levels, right? So looking at this is the 1 day time frame. So let's assume market current price was at this level, right? So market current price was at this level. You can see this was a Friday. So now you coming to see market at this level, you want to do your top down analysis using price action, support and resistance. So what do you do? What comes to your consciousness? First, you want to look at past price data, and these are the data we can see. So now, to be able to mark your levels, you can come from a higher time frame, like like 1 week. So let's see what the 1 week has. So mind you, we are just marking horizontal levels, right? So maybe we'll do another video on how to draw good trend lines and how we can mix up everything, but we take it step after the other. So for now, we are just marking horizontal levels. Okay, so looking at this market, this is the 1 week time frame. Okay, let me just say the 1 month. So first I can see a good momentum, a good buy momentum. So where is this buy? Where is this buying heading towards now? So I can see that, okay. So now looking at this chart, you can see that this was a kind of base for this market, right? Because this was it. This market, it was here at first. So it came down up to this point, and then you saw a reaction up, and then it came back down to this point, and then you saw a reaction up, right? And so market is trending up. So in this case, where can you liken this price to be heading towards? First, this is the higher time frame. Like this now, I know that, okay, this is a good support level, so I can go ahead as well and mark this, because as well this is a support level, this is also a resistance level. See, we get one reaction, two reaction, and then three reaction. So this is ultimately a resistance level. All right, so what can we mark again? So we can just get this now from the 1 month, which is also a area of concentration, right? But then we narrow it down to the 1 week. Let's see what happened. Mind you, this was a good momentum. Okay, so that is the 1 week. What can we identify in the 1 week? So come to the 1 week, we are looking for areas like swing highs and swing lows, and areas where price has reacted from. So pay attention to this now. So looking at this, I can see that, okay, I'm having some multiple zone at this point. So look at this now. Saw this reaction here, saw this reaction here, and you saw this reaction here. So you see, this is a zone, this is a point of interest, because what market has reacted this level several times, which you can attest to this fact now, even here, here and here. So this is a key level, this is a resistance level, because price is currently trending below. This is a resistance level, so we want to mark this and see how price will react to this level. So, and as well, I can spot a, don't mind the chart, the chart is becoming more, more plenty with tools, but don't worry, we'll get some out, some that are not relevant. But let's continue with our analysis first. All right, so you can see this other level. See, reaction, 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 reaction. So this is a base level. This is what? This is a support level. Okay, so this is a support level. It has held price severally, and price is pulling with momentum up. So now this is from the weekly. This is what we can get from the weekly. So that means I can comfortably say that this market is either heading towards this resistance zone, or it is either heading towards the support zone. As simple as that. So you can see this is as simple as ABC. But now where the complexity come is you able to mark out these zones properly, right? Because you want to know how to mark out these zones properly. You want to know how to know those zones that can resist price movement. And mind you, this is a higher time frame view. The higher time frame controls the market. You want to trade you want to go with the flow of the trend, right? You want to trade along the area of less resistance, right? If you're in a ship or you're in a boat, if you are currently going against the wave, the sea wave or the water wave, that is the water current, you have to apply much force to be able to be stable. But then if you just go with the wave, that means like with the current, it will be flawless, and there'll be much force needed, and you just be going, you only just to control the paddle, as the case may be. So that is it. Want to know how we can position ourselves to just go with the flow of the trend. Yeah, so take this, you want to go with the flow of the market, right? The market is bullish, you want to be catching buys, bullish trade setups. If the market is bearish, you want to be catching bearish trade setup. All right, so looking at this now, this is 1 week. So what zone can we see? We have marked this. So remember, we say swing highs and swing lows. So what is this? This is swing high. So we want to put this area into consideration. So this is 1 week. So you can mark this because this was a reaction at this point. You know, in the past you can see reaction, and you can see some form of reaction. So that means maybe if price should get to this point, there will be a reaction. So now I've successfully marked out my levels, right? This is 1 week. So maybe as a day trader, I narrow it down at this day, we'll be using 1 day as the least time frame for this analysis. All right, so now I've marked this. So in my projection in my head, I just know that price will either get to this point or it will come down, as simple as that. So now top down analysis helps us position ourselves. Okay, market is going up or it's going down. So now what do you do next? How do you know the exact, maybe how do you get the bias from this direction, either here or here? So now we add other conferences, like where's the market coming from? The market reacted from here, went to this resistance and then pull back again. You are struggling within this range. You can see that this is almost a range. And then what can you see? You can see this point. This is also a resistance point within, right? See, the market failed to break here. It almost wanted to break, but it failed and then it dropped down. So what do you think is going to happen now? So I can see that market has reacted from this base so many times. So maybe from here, you can expect that the market, okay, we can look at some of this now. So this is a reaction. So now from this point, maybe I'll be expecting to get a reaction like this. Boom. And now let's consider one other aspect again. Okay, so this is it. Let's assume this was a market flow trend, right? So note this: when a resistance is broken, so which point can we reference as resistance? This is the resistance, and this is a support. This held this price, and this resisted this price from going up. So now note this: when a resistance is broken, it becomes a support. The level which was broken becomes a support. So that means when this zone is broken now, when market is coming back to this point, it becomes a support to hold price to go up, going back up. So let me mark this now to be clear. So this is it. This was a resistance zone, right? And then this resistance was broken with good momentum, not weak, but good body break. So now we expect that when price come down, it will react at this point, and we call this retest, or you can call it pullback, or you can call it correction, as the case may be. So now we want to wait for reaction. This is what we refer to as a trade setup. We want to wait for reaction, knowing okay, if it will be nice for us, and if other confirmation will be made, will be confirmed for us to take this trade to the next point of resistance, right? So now what do? We wait for confirmation. But now we are not talking about confirmation, we're not talking about entries, we're just talking about marking our key levels, which is the support and the resistance levels. Okay, so note this: when a resistance is broken, it becomes a support. And as well, when a support is broken, it becomes what? It becomes a resistance. So assuming this was not the case now, and then okay, let me just leave that, and then market from here broke down, that this will be a resistance. So a support is broken, it will now hold price as a resistance to the next point of support. So this was broken, it will now hold price to the next point of resistance. So let me just quickly write this. This was a resistance zone. So resistance, and then this was a support. Okay, so now resistance broken, it becomes a support. Support broken, it becomes a resistance. So now we are just trading within our zone of interest, within a resistance to a support, support to a resistance. So that's how. So now we can now we can now go back to this, and let's look at this, because remember I said we need to consider something. Okay, so now look at this now. Past resistance and support breakout levels. So now this is what we mean by past resistance and support breakout levels. So looking at this, past resistance and okay, now this is a level, it's a resistance level. So it's a past resistance level and it was broken out. So past resistance and past support level, they will automatically become a resistance for a support, and for a support a resistance, right? Which I explained. When the resistance is broken, it becomes a support, and when the support is broken, it becomes a resistance. So just take this very importantly. All right, let me clean this. So let's go back to our analysis. So now one, we are waiting for a reaction like this. So if we get a reaction like this, what are you seeing? You're seeing that this is a breakout, and if this is a breakout, that means we might likely expect a retest of this zone, right? And then we can take goodbye straight to the next resistance, and it makes sense, right? And or if we should get a kind of breakout down, okay, we can, this is this small zone of interest, but maybe if we get this, we can get a kind of retest, and then maybe to this level, and then if there's a breakout, a retest to this zone, and then to this level. As simple as that, right? So let's see what is the case now in this situation. So let's play now, let's play, let's see. So we have this level, and then we are watching to see if price will break this level, and then this resistance is here. Okay, so guys, what do you see? You see that price successfully broke through this level. That means the momentum was strong. You know, this is what we call a breakout. Good body break. You can call this candle Marabozo if, yeah, you know, you can call it Marabozo. We're not talking about candlestick now. So now looking at this has broken out from here. So you just know that somehow market is heading for this resistance. So somehow we might get a reaction like this. Okay, maybe market, okay, maybe we can, this might be the retest too, or maybe market can still retest this one, and then we'll get a reaction from here. Surely we'll get a reaction from here. And then when you get to this point, maybe you want to be closing your position. Either you close your position, you take profit, or you take partials, and maybe you are expecting market to head to this point. But then at least you have taken something, some profit from it, because market might likely react and then even start dropping, going to the next support. You get the point? So you don't want to be much, you don't want to be greedy, you just want to go with the flow of the market. All right, so let's see what happened. So you can see the reaction, right? Market came to this point, and then we are just getting some form of reaction. Why? Because this is a resistance zone, as simple as that. So we can, we can extend this line, and let's just see market reaction around the zone. So what are we seeing now? Maybe you took partials from here, and then you are heading over to this point. So now notice this, market came to this point, and then this was a support, for price. Market never relaxed here and this support, but then that this zone was a zone of support, this was a support area, and then market came, retested this zone, consolidated, and then boom, it had momentum to break out from this zone. So now what can we liken this to? We can liken this to by saying that market has broken out from a good resistance. So what do you think will happen? Market is heading for this next resistance level, as simple as that. So now in this case, if you want to catch this kind of market, what do you think you do? You wait for a retest. Maybe this can close well bullishly, you wait for a retest to this zone, and then you can comfortably take it up, right? Yeah, if we were adding trend line, we could have gone ahead to connect something like this, to just see how price will react to this zone. But now we are not talking about trend line. So now market has broken out from here. So market would likely do like this, heading to this resistance level, right? So let's say it goes. Okay, you can see that. Okay, Okay, so you can see what happened. So this our this our support now. Market finally came to this support. So this was broken. You know that there is bullishness. You are framing bullishness, right? There's bullishness in your mind. So now this was what I said. If we had connected what our trend line, we would have, it would have added some more confidence to our trade, right? So let's look at this. So now what do you notice at this point? Notice that there was a form of breakout at this point, which you want to wait and see what price does, because now you are adding confidence. You are adding this confidence that this is a support, and then you saw this reaction, and then you saw this. Maybe if you were waiting for reaction and then you saw this engulfing, you will not even want to take this kind of trade, right? Because you want to go with the flow of the market, because already you have seen that market has broken out from a good from a good resistance zone, and then you want to just wait because you want to catch buys, right? Buying, this is what you want to catch. So now this will be the next target the market to come. So you can mark this market is going to react yeah, a little bit, but then I think it's going to break through and then head to this point. So this is how you mark your zones, right? So we have this zone has has not been reached ever since, and as well this zone has not been reached. So you can see we are just within this zone, and the same analogy we did outside, that's what we are applying within, and you see we are just going with the flow of the market. So you can see this now, this is forming a channel already. See, if I should draw my trend line, you see that this touches, and then when we are talking about entry model, then you can add some of this confirmation and then you can take your trade. But ultimately this market looks bullish. If you should close inside of this zone, we are heading up for this. Alright, so let's see how price goes, what goes on. Alright, so what do you notice? You notice that there have been a consolidation at this zone, right? There have been a consolidation at this zone. So you just want to, okay, so now if you are not a day trader, because all of these represent trading opportunities in the lower time frame, but now if you are looking at this market from the higher time frame, what is your mind? You know that market is trying to move gradually, maybe it's trying to move up, right? Because is there any resistive zone that is tending to resist price? If we wanted to add other confluence, then I can go ahead to draw this trend line. No problem. So is there any other zone that is resisting price? That's what you want to be thinking. Which zone are zones of interest? So now I can see this, that ever since for a long time now market has failed to break here, so this might be a point of interest. All of this now, so let me bring it here. This is a resistance zone now, but then we are aiming higher. The price should continue bullishly to this zone, to this resistance zone, but then want to get a breakout from this, because market might likely react from here and maybe start heading downward. And now if market is heading downward, it will likely come for this, because this it will likely come for this zone, because this is a kind of is a first support zone. Maybe you want to take partials at this point, and then you want to take your trade ultimately to this point. But now we are still bullish to some extent, except we see a change in the structure of the market, right? But then if we get a breakout from here, that means ultimately the market is coming to this point. So let's see how it goes. Okay guys, all right, so you can see now. So this is a good confirmation to our trade, right? Because this is a breakout. It's a good one. This is a good breakout. So after seeing this breakout from this zone, we are good and want to buy this trade. So maybe you have your entry model, you wait for retest, and you're waiting for some confirmation, which we'll talk about entry soon. But now this video is about marking zones. So now this is it. You are trying to buy from a support and sell from a resistance zone. So take this as note now, that you need to wait for market to come to you. So assuming, okay, let's say this market is in the middle of nowhere, this market is in the middle of nowhere, you don't want to just jump and maybe take this kind of trade. Rather, you want to first of all identify, is this a support zone? Is this a support level that is holding price that now you can now wait for confirmation to take it up? Or is this a resistance level that you want to wait to get reaction, that market want to change structure and then to sell? So now you, that is why patience is very important in the market. And mind you, I'm doing this in the higher time frame. You can also do this in the lower time frame, vice versa. And a scalper can also do this in the 5 minutes, 1 minute. You can also do this with the 1 hour, 4 hours. But then the higher time frame give the ultimate clear and good price direction. Yes. So now market has broken. So we know that market is heading to this point because this is the next resistance zone. And then if market is able to break here, you know that market is heading to this point, because now we can see that this market is good looking bullish, good bullish. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so looking at this now, what do you notice? You notice that market, after this breakout, market came back, retested this zone, retested this level, and then what happened now? It pulled the momentum up to the upside, and then it retraced a little bit, and then you now saw this. What happened now? What will you liken this zone to? This is a double top. This is a resistance zone as well. So when you are going with the flow of the market, you need to be sensitive. You don't need to just there are some point that you do your analysis and you just let it run. But now looking at this now, when you now saw this reaction, this is what now? This is a kind of pin bar. See, this is a kind of pin bar, bearish pin bar. When you see a bearish pin bar at a resistance zone, it signifies much, a whole lot. So now when seeing this, if you add this to your counter trend, you can see that there's even a breakout from this zone. See, there's even a breakout. There's a breakout. So at this point, when seeing this already, you want to close your position. You don't want to be in this trade again, because whatever, for what case, you are doing your analysis. The market is king, right? The market is king. So you just want to go with the flow of the market. That is just it. So you can see the market has broken trend at this point. See, this is the trend that's broken it. So now, but looking at this, what can you notice? That you can see that market has broken down this red line. This was a good resistance that market broke through, but now market has come back into this trend line. So what can you observe at this point? Now you can observe that the market is changing structure, as simple as that. So the market is changing structure. So now you see that, okay, market reacted from a resistance zone, and the market is changing structure. So which zone now will you liken price to be heading towards? Which zone will you liken price to be heading towards? So first we have this one. Ultimately, price might likely going to reach out to the zone. But then which zone will you first of all, okay, like put into perspective that market is likely going to go? So now we use the 1 week. So seeing this is a kind of double top, it's a kind of chart pattern. So double top, we know that yes, this is very good. This is a good zone for market to come into. So, and as well, we are just identifying zone, marking levels. So at much more into this section of price action, we'll add other conferences together. We'll add everything. We'll talk about trend lines. We'll talk about measuring, using your fib to measure retracement. That is, trend retracement. We'll talk about chart patterns, and then we'll talk about candlestick confirmation. The way we add everything, from all of this now, you can now get a good trade setup, right? Yeah. So looking at this now, I might consider using my fib tool from here, and then know that, okay, this is almost a 50% retracement, and then I might be catching, I might want to position to know that, okay, this can be a correction. Much of the fact that because I'm trying to buy this market, but then I can know that because of this momentum, this might be a correction, and then I'll also be very careful while trying to buy this market. right? Because that you want to pay attention to details. All right. So market has broken back into this channel, or into this below this level. So now what is the next level of interest? What is the next level? What do you think is the next level that will hold price? So let's look at the 1 week. So looking at this 1 week, so you can see this level. Okay, if I stretch this like this, so you can see that, okay, to some extent, you know that this level is going to hold price. Yes, because see, it has held price here in the future or past. It has held price, so we're likely going to hold price. So we might frame that market, maybe kind of breakout, and then come to this, react, to some extent, and then maybe come to this, right? So this might make sense. This might be the case because this is a breakout. This is a breakout of a channel, right? So now let's see how it goes. All right, so you can see the observation. Market came down to confirm the breakout well, and then you saw this retracement. So if you want to cash, we are not talking about catching trade setup now. If you want to cash trade setup, maybe you could wait for confirmation here to hit this trade down to this point. You have taken partials and ultimately driving the market down to this point. But you want to add good conferences. You want to know that, okay, this zone is likely going to hold price. Right, see, this was how we mark this zone from this point, and then you see that market is respecting, reacting to it. So you see this one now, see as market is reacting to it. So let's just continue playing and see how it goes. So now you can see this is what we call free fall, right? This is free fall, like this is sweet. So now maybe you cut it from here, and maybe you took partials from here, and you drive it ultimately to this point, and maybe you have closed the market, or maybe if you are too greedy, or maybe you are kind of position trader, you might still want to hold it down to this ultimate low, and which here the market should get to this point. Please, you can just wait. Don't don't try to take it down, because this is telling you that there's a roadblock at this point, and then you need to wait for market to decide if you want to continue by a strong breakout and a retest to continue downward, right? So now from this point, you're seeing that, okay, maybe our TP has been hit here, our trade has been closed, but maybe just in case now this market is still dropping, which point is the next point of interest for us to consider? Is this zone, and which now we can have it like this one day. So now this, okay, let's play it and see whether this is a good breakout. So now this is a good breakout. So what do you think will happen if market do not consolidate at this point and then maybe retrace? We might have something like this, right? So let's see how it goes. So you can see exactly. So now we are just waiting for TP to be smashed. Okay, so you can see TP is finally smashed. So what was the reaction that took place? First, this was a support. Remember, we say when a support is broken, it becomes a resistance. So see this arrow. You see, he reacted at this point. Reacted at this point, and then is heading down to this point. And I told you that when market gets here, please, you can just wait. You can just don't trade, don't trade, because you want to wait to know what market is doing. So maybe ultimately this is your target. This point, you see this point, market will react at this point, but then you have closed your position from here. So okay, let's assume from this point you wanted taking a position. How do you take a position after you hitting this TP? Maybe you wanted taking a position, you can use your counter trend line, and then what is this? This is a breakout, and this is a retest, and now you see this engulfing. You can even take this position, drive it down, and then finally it's the CTP. So now what are we figuring out? We are figuring how we can mark zones and levels. So see, the market just continues sinking down, but I tell you the truth, this will not always be the case. You see, maybe if you have held this position down, you'd have been in profit. But I tell you, this will not always be the case, because you want to trade what you see, not what you imagine. You right? You want to trade what you see, not what you imagine. So this was what you see, that this zone was a good zone for you to relax and take your position, and then you took your position, and this one was the ultimate zone. So what did I say? I say maybe if we get a breakout from here, we can wait for a retest. But then where are you driving the market to? That is another question for another video, because you can also measure retracement, from this breakout, because there is no point in the past historical data that you can say, okay, from here market is likely going to come to this other support, so you can use your fib to do that. Okay, so looking at this is a breakout. The market might likely retest here, but then you can see this my market might retest here as well, right, and then continue the downward movement. Okay, so you can see market is in a ranging state. You see, it's just flat. So now what do you see now? Market has finally retested that zone to some extent. So now if you want to take this trade, we are still waiting for confirmation. Maybe you can use your counter trend to wait for breakout from this trend, and then maybe you can still venture on your sell trade. And now you take your trade here. I'm just giving you update now on entry model. And now you take your trade to the next level of target, just in case you know your next level of target, right? So that is it. That is it basically. So you can see that the market is still respecting this trend to some extent. But now you don't even know where you are targeting. What we do, see, this market is ranging, for God's sake. It's ranging. This market is ranging. Right. So even though you want to drop, you just want it to have a good clear shape, good clear form. So now let me delete all of this. So now first of all, you want to know the direction. You want to know how to trade within zone to zone, right? So you come to the higher time frame. This is 1 month time frame. So what can you see? What support can you see from this point? So let's say we want to do a fresh analysis. So I can see that this was a support. It was broken. And remember what we say, if support is broken, it becomes a resistance zone. So I can likely mark this point here. Likely mark this zone, saying that this is a resistance zone, that if market want to continue selling, it will make sense for it to react at this point. Or I can use my fib to know, okay, what level 50% is market going to react from. But then using this, a breakout from this zone, a retest, we can see hold price to continue down, right? So in which case, in which scenario? So, and as well, again, I want to mark my support. This is a support, because see, that's health price. So this is from the higher time frame now. And then if I know that market has broken through this point, I know that ultimately market might head to this zone. This is the next resistance zone, and you see, this is a good space. There's no obstruction at this point. The market is buying, market to buy all the way to this point, right? And if market react from here to sell, it will sell all the way to this point, and you can likely catch any of this. So now you narrow it down to the lower time frame, like 1 week, to know the structure, to know the kind of pattern the market is forming. So now you are seeing this pattern. So you see that the market is in a ranging state. You just want to wait for breakout, please. You just want to wait for breakout. This is it. Wait for breakout at this zone. I can bring this a little bit down. So you just want to wait for breakout. So now you want to wait for breakout from this zone, or breakout from this zone, as the case may be. This is the 1 week. So let's say now we are using daily time frame for the flow of this market direction. So let's see what price does. So if market should break this point, okay, let's know what market will do from here. I'm not using trend line. I'm just tempted. This trend line is just tempting me. Can mark this down. Okay, so looking at this now, marking our zones. So we have been able to figure this one, figure this one, figure this one, and figure this one. So let's wait and see the reaction of price. So what do we do? So we wait for market to come to us, and then we decide. So that is why we are waiting now to see what market is doing. Which zone is market heading to? So market is consolidating. We don't have any business with the market at the moment. So we are just waiting. So now what do you see? So the market has come back to the support. So at this point, we want to wait to see if market to break through it, or if this support will hold price back to the next resistance level. So this is what has captures, like, this is what captures our interest now. So market heading to this point, we want to wait now, wait and observe. So now you see some reaction, you see some good reaction. So you see some reaction. So now, but the reaction was not able to hold price, and then what happened? This was a breakout. So in the daily time frame, market has broken out from this trend. So we want to wait for furthermore additional confluence that, okay, market this point might likely hold price up. So you see now, me, I will check this from the higher time frame, 1 week. The market, this is still a support, because see, market has not successfully broken through it well. I see this reaction consolidation, so I'll still sit on my hands. I'll be waiting. So one day, let's see how it goes. So now you see what's happening is that market is finding its way up, and this is a chart pattern. This is a chart pattern. So now market is finding its way up. So from here now, you can now look for, you look for internal zones take price to this point. This is your ultimate resistance from this now, but this is the ultimate. But at this point, this is a whole lot of pips. If you can even catch this market at this point, it's 800 pips. You see, this is the kind of market you want to catch. This is the kind of market you want to be trading. So at this point, you want to look for internal zones that can be broken out. So now we can do some analysis that, okay, from this zone, this was a zone, this was a zone that, okay, this was a support that was broken, it becomes a resistance, and market use this resistance down to the support, and now it is reacting. So now, to have good confidence to this trade, we can either sit on our hands and wait for breakout from this zone, or then there's a pattern here, market consolidate, and then we can also use this a kind of breakout from this internal range. So let's see what price does. So you can see price is gaining momentum. So you see, if we have bought this trade now, see, it still came back to this point, and this is what we call a head and shoulder pattern, but it has not formed. So, and this is what we call the neckline. So now we have this, I can delete this, and then I can see a good resistance. So the market should break this point, then okay, ultimately I'm good, I'll buy this, I'll be buying this market now. The market should break this point, then I'll be buying this market to this point, but then I can take some profit at this point and then ultimately leave it to this point. So let's see what happened. All right, guys, so you saw the breakout, right? So this was the breakout, but it was not too clear, right? Okay, but it still makes sense. So okay, let me use 1 week. Okay, so it does not make much sense. So it does not make much sense. But then if I should use my trend line to mark this, I will have double confidence. I will now say, okay, if market really want to say, it should break this trend line, but then the market might react from me and head up. So let's see how it goes. So you can see now, this is what you want to see, and when you get this, it's a good confidence. Like, it's adding up. So from this point now, you are good. So this is a kind of breakout. So this is our target, ultimate target. So maybe you want to take a position from here, you can just come, take your position. Your stop should be below this zone, because market might come and retest it again, and then you are heading up to this point. And then let's see how it goes. So you see, this was the zone we talked about. So market came back to this zone, to this support, resistance broken becomes a support. See, you do not always look clean as before, right? So there will always be some, it's a framework. We apply the framework to every market, but then it's not always look as clean as we ought it to be, right? So, but then just know that this is a kind of breakout, he tried there, he failed, or he tried there, he retrace, and maybe we use counter trend. You saw that this place whole held the price, and then it broke. That okay, here is a good point for you to take this trade, and then your stops, you know where to put your stops below this retest zone, and then you are heading to this point. So now at this point, see that this is a resistance zone, but at this point you might be taking partials at this point, as simple as that. Taking partials at this point, because market will likely react from here. Why? Before heading to this point. You can even ultimately swing it to this point, but maybe make sure you take partials at this point. So let's just see how it goes. So you can see as market is reacting from that zone. So you have taken partials, right? And you are holding your market still. You can even hold it to this point. So let's see how it goes. And then you can do what we call scaling. So this is scaling. So now looking at this, now this was the zone we marked. This is what now? This is a resistance zone. And what was this? This was a breakout. Market broke out, it came back, it retest this zone perfectly, and maybe you see this bullish engulfing, you took this trade, and now you are heading for this ultimate target. You see, as simple. So maybe you're in this position, you have broken even, there's no risks on this trade, and you have added another position here, still riding the market up, right? And let's just see how it goes. You can see that it's taking long. So, and you need to have a plan. You need to have a plan. You need to know, okay, why is this market reacting at this point? Why is this market reacting? Remember now, we put this. Remember, in the ultimate trend of this market, this was what? This was a higher time frame breakout that we were saying, okay, maybe market might retest this zone to sell. So me now, I can use my fib tool, or I use my trend line to know if really that point is a good point. So for me, I'm still in this trade. The market will likely smash this one. Why? Because because market is, see, it makes sense that market is reacting from this point though, but you can see now, because this zone is a good zone of retest and it has not retested it well, and this is my trend line. This is my trend line in the overall trend. At least it makes sense for you to touch it a little bit, maybe somewhere, and then drop. So maybe I'm still in that trade. So you see, TP hit. So what are we doing? We are trading from zone to zone with precision, right? You're trading with precision. So now you're waiting for your good trade setup to, for your trade setup to be confirmed. You are not just entering the trade, just entering trade because of momentum, but you are waiting for confirmation. So now you can see now, this is my counter trend. So what do you notice from this point? Notice that this trend now, I say this is my counter trend, this is the overall trend, sorry, market has come to this point. So from here, you are not in this trade, you are waiting. So now you can call this resistance. So if this was a resistance for you, what do you want to do? You want to wait for a breakout from this zone. See, market now came back to this zone. Okay, it's adding to your confidences, right? Because in the overall trend, this market is supposed to sell. This might be a retracement, right? And then maybe you have a counter trend, your bullish trend, you were trailing up, then you saw this breakout. Okay, from here market might likely change direction, and maybe you took this trade for a sell at this point. What will you be targeting? You'll be targeting this next level. Then maybe you might ultimately target the low for the swing for sales, right? And then let's see how it goes. But mind you, this market might form a kind of head and shoulder at this point. So maybe from here, market might form a kind of head and shoulder before coming down. So let's see, because it makes sense. This is a, okay, we'll talk about chart, but okay, now see, market reacted at this zone. Resistance broken, it becomes a support. Reacted, and now you see, okay, to this zone, this is not okay. So see that it's dropping now. So but now see the zone, see as market is struggling with this zone. You have collected partials already at this point, as simple as that. Right, you're just trading zone to zone, and now you are trying to take your trade down. Market has broken this, you can add another position here. But now you see, okay, market broke this, you can add another position in your stops here, and then you are driving it down to this point. And then let's watch out, let's watch out, guys. You're just making money, you're just making money, you're just making money, you're just making money. Is he heading to TP? Is he heading to TP? So now counter trend, a breakout, can even add one position here at this point. So see, and now market is heading to TP. So let's say it goes. So you can see that the struggling is much. This is what, this is a support zone. This is a support zone. This is a support zone. Support zone. So at this point, the market is struggling. You have already collected 50% of your trade. So now looking at this trend now, see this overall trend. See, market will react at this point. Somehow it will react. Then the market break here, you know that market want to sell. I mean market want to buy. But if market comes down, you are good in this trade. You add another position here and you're heading down, you're taking this trade down. Yes, this is a retest. You might take this trade down now, depending on the confirmation you get. So this is a kind of double top, right? This is a resistance zone, double top, and now you are taking this trade down, back down. And then let's just wait for this. Let market slam this TP. This TP. So mind you, if you have taken this position here for sales and your SL was saying you would have hit SL, right? Yes, that have hit SL. And then maybe, but if you have taken this position here, this was the best place for you to take a double top. And then counter trend line broken, take it here, and then see your TP has hit. So finally this was hit. Finally this was hit again as well, you know. So maybe, but this one you have taken partials already. So with all of this, you are safe to some extent, right? So now, what's the purpose for this? Top down analysis, top down analysis, top down analysis, top down analysis. So you can see we adding all of these confluences. We are getting price movement to some extent, right? We are getting price direction. So this is it. This is it about top down analysis. You want to be able to identify, number one, your zones. And these zones, there are zones where price has reacted previously in the past. Market react at this point, it's a support zone. And if a support is broken, it becomes a resistance. See here, support broken, it becomes a resistance, held price down. And now this again held price down. And now this is what, this is a support. So if you get a breakout from this zone, a retest to continue the sells, right? As simple as that. But from here, market might react from here, to some extent, because what, this is a support zone. But then you want to wait, you want to take your profit from here and wait, because market might consolidate with no clear direction. So I hope you have been, at least to some extent, you can mark out zones. You can mark out zones. You can do the same. You can do the same for any time frame whatsoever. You can do the same for, for 4 hours, for 1 hour. But the only thing is that those lower time frame, they are subject to much manipulations, right? They are subject to much manipulations. So now maybe using the 4 hours, and I want to do the same. So maybe looking at this current market price now. So what do you notice at this point? First, you want to mark, this was a zone, this was a resistance zone. See, double top, market tap, tap, and then you failed to break it. And then see here, it's a resistance zone. So you see, it's a good resistance zone. So as market broke it, what do? You wait for retest. You wait for retest. Market broke it, you wait for retest, 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 and then you took your trade up. So now, what zone? This is a, like this 4 hours. This is a kind of zone again. So market broke out from this zone. What do? You wait for a kind of retest to this zone. But this is it. There's what they call chart pattern. So the market has formed a chart pattern from this point, and then this chart pattern might hold this price to the upside, except we get a counter trend line break. Then we know that, okay, market will ultimately come to retest this zone before continuing up, because it will even make sense, because overall you can mark out this like this. You get the point. So now this is it. I'm doing my top down analysis to know the flow of the market. So maybe from here now, if I should get a break of structure to the upside, I am confidently buying this trade with good confirmation, with my entry model confirmed. Because of what? Because of the pattern I'm seeing here, like flag pattern, right? Or the same way, if I should get a breakout, counter breakout from this trend, from this channel, now that okay, to some point market is coming to retest this one, and maybe I can wait. I might not take this trade. I must not take all the retracement trade and wait for market to react at this my zone, and then look for a way to cash my buys back ultimately to the upside. So now if I want to catch this buys to the upside, where am I targeting? So if market breakout from here, the market will likely retest, and then which zone is the next zone of interest? This zone. This is the next. See now, remember what we were doing in the past. Market reacted, breakout from here, retested, go down, retested, and breakout from here. Now see, market was supposed to retest from here and go down. It went down, but now it's pulling momentum, so that means here can be a good target. So maybe if I'm buying this market ultimately as a swing or position trader, this is my target. I hope you get the point, and I hope you found value from this. So if you found value from this, if you watch this video to the end, it really shows that you are really interested in becoming good with trading and with your technical approach in trading. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching this video to the end. Do well to comment, leave your thoughts concerning this top down analysis on support and resistance, on marking zones, and then I'll be in the comment section, right, to meet with you. Let's discuss, right? So we are we are we are defining our edge rightly together. Our edge is our strength. Your edge is your strength. Hone it. Hone it. Right, yeah. All right. So thank you, guys. Thank you. So in our next video, we'll be looking at how to draw trend line. So now we'll be adding trend lines with our zones of interest. So stay tuned, and you can check the video in the check the video is somewhere around the screen. So do well to watch that as well. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.